Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday Learning Bhagavatam class. Hope you're all keeping well. Today, we're going to speak on Canto 9, Liberation, Chapter 5, Durvāsā Muni's Life Spared. And our guest speaker is Madan Prabhu. Hare Krishna, over to you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to the Learning Bhagavatam class, and thank you so much for joining every day. As you can see, I'm in my work clothes because I'm doing this in office. So as it turns out, Krishna wanted me to do this from my office, which is in London, Victoria, because I realized that I would not be able to reach home on time. So we will do the invocation, and then we will do the Mangalacharan. So I'll invite you to close your eyes and please do join me. You can keep your mics muted. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kada Mahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakam Vetamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhaktivedanta Swamin iti namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschyata Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Keep your eyes closed for a couple of minutes. And as we enter into our inner world, let's pray to the Paramatma within our heart to give us the torch of knowledge by which we can shine on the Vedic words, on the wise words of the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. And as we go through the pastimes of Maharaj Ambarisha and Durvāsā Muni, let's explore, let's think about the qualities of Ambarisha Maharaj and pray to Lord how we can imbibe those qualities, even if it is little by little. And as we think of the qualities of Durvāsā Muni, also let's reflect on what are some of the things that we need to be careful about in our lives, something that we should guard ourselves against. Because as we go through these pastimes, these are the wonderful pastimes of the Lord. There is a literal element to it, and there is also a metaphorical and ethical element to it. So today, as we go through this particular pastime, think of how this can really inspire us to come closer to Krishna. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining. So, for those of you who have just joined, so today we are going to be doing Canto 9 and Chapter 5. So what we will do is we'll do a quick recap of the previous chapter because it's always good to know, because this particular chapter builds upon the previous chapter, which are essentially the pastime of Ambarisa Maharaj and Durvāsā Muni. So as we begin chapter 9, Canto 9, chapter 4. So we know that Manu, who's the primary, who's the father of man. His son is Nabaga, and his son is Nabaga. And Ambarisa is the son of Nabaga. So he is in very auspicious. He's got a very auspicious heritage, and it's good to really understand the genealogy of Amrisa Maharaj as well. We'll not go into the details of Nabaga, but one of the things that you do remember recall from the last time was that Nabaga, who is Amrisa's father, always used to follow the instructions of his father. So that's how, although his brothers did not really give him they give him the wealth and the fortune of their father, and they gave the father, whereas the father was not really a property for them to give to Nabaga. So and then Nabaga, he goes to the yajna where he gets a lot of wealth, and then he comes back, and then Lord Shiva, it takes like challenges, says that it's my wealth, and he listens to his father, and again he gives it. He gives all the wealth back, and Shiva is quite pleased, and he gets and he gives him all the wealth. So this is the background in which Ambarisa Maharaj is born, and as we know, he is the emperor, and he has got all the opulences of the world. However, he always thought of these opulences as being very temporary. And he also understands fully well that whatever opulence he has is the cause of downfall. Because when we have opulence, when we could get greedy, we want even more. So you could be a millionaire and you could have a very fat bank balance, but even if you are a millionaire, you're not always satisfied. You want more. And similarly, if you have power, then like they say, power corrupts absolutely. So which means that the more power you have, the more you want power. However, Amrisa Maharaj was not like this. So he had what's called Yukta Vairagya, and Yukta Vairagya is full renunciation, which means that he will continue to follow all the activities. He'll perform his duties as what the emperor would. But he would still surrender all the fruits and everything. He'll have no attachment to any of that. And it surrendered all of this to Krishna. So sometimes we ask ourselves, and when Amrisha Maharaj or the king is going through his duties, it's quite possible that we can think of them as being very involved in the material world, but that's really our senses which are telling that. Because a pure devotee, although they are involved and they are interacting with the material world and they're performing all the activities as what like many of the others do. The key difference is that they engage all their minds and senses to please Krishna, and the other very key thing is, and because they do that, they don't have any attachment, and that's very, very significant. And you could see that Ambrish Maharaj demonstrates ample of that. And on the other hand, and I would also like to read out because it's really inspiring. So I'd like to read out what like in verse 18 to 20, because it's always nice to like remember how Ambrisa Maharaj pleased the Lord. So I'll just read them so that we all get inspired. So Maharaja Ambarisa always engaged his mind in meditating upon the lotus feet of Krishna, his words in describing the glories of the Lord, his hands in cleansing the Lord's temple, and his ears in hearing the words spoken by Krishna or about Krishna. He engaged his eyes in seeing the deity of Krishna, Krishna's temples, and Krishna's places like Mathura and Vrindavan. He engaged his sense of touch in touching the bodies of the Lord's devotees. He engaged his sense of smell in smelling the fragrance of tulsi offered to the Lord, and he engaged his tongue in tasting the Lord's prasada. He engaged his legs in walking to the holy places and temples of the Lord, his head in bowing down before the Lord, and all his desires in serving the Lord 24 hours a day. Indeed, Maharaj Ambrisa never desired anything for his own sense gratification. He engaged all his senses in devotional service, in various engagements related to the Lord. This is the way to increase attachment for the Lord and be completely free from material desires. So, and then we move on to the pastime itself. And in the pastime, what we see is that this is the month of Kartik, and it's the day of Dwadashi, and Durvāsā and Amrisa just plans to break his fast as how it should be done in the scriptures. And Durvāsā Muni comes, and then he welcomes him as he welcomes any great learned Brahmana, and then he offers him all the food to all the prasadam to break the fast. So Durvāsā Muni goes to bathe in the river Yamuna, and he spends a lot of time because he performs all the austerities. So during this time, Amrisa Maharaj is in a dilemma. So he doesn't. So he needs to break his fast, but he cannot because he can't eat before the exalted the Brahmana can come. So he consults the learned Brahmins, and that's very important to know because he consults, and then the Brahmanas say that if you drink water, it can be eating, but it can also be not eating. So Durvāsā Muni, he comes back after his bath, and then he can sense because he's a mystic yogi, and so he understands what Amrita Maharaj has done, and then he gets very angry. Durvāsā Muni is known for his temper, and he uses words like to describe Amrita Maharaj like cruel man, like not a devotee of the Lord, proud, transgressing all the actions, which in itself is offending, offending a Vaishnava, a pure Vaishnava, which is Ambrisa Maharaj, and that's the greatest offense which the Lord can never forgive. And then we see that the Sudarshan Chakra threatens to burn. I mean, the demon which Durvāsā Muni picks up from his hair, and then. And then Durvāsā Muni, is running. He's, he's going as fast as possible, but he's unable to do that. And 39 to 40 is where we have, Amrisa Maharaj's dilemma. So how can, I mean, I need to fast and not fast. And then, this particular episode happens, and the Sudarshan Chakra is chasing Durvāsā Muni, And for more than a year, Durvāsā Muni is like traveling across, and then finally he goes to Brahma Loka. But even Lord Brahma is unable to help him because because they understand, they know that he is a true definite Vaishnava. And then he also goes to Shivlok, and even Lord Shiva cannot really help him. And then that's when the Lord says right at the end of the chapter that I can't save you if you really, and I can't even, forgive you. If you truly want to have peace, then you need to go and, pay your, and ask for forgiveness of Ambrisa Maharaj. So that's how this particular chapter ends. But before that, there were just one or two things I did want to speak about, from Prabhupada's purport, which are quite helpful. So in verse 67, Prabhupada speaks about four principles of liberation in Vedic scriptures. There are five actually, but the fifth one is impersonalism, which is merging into Brahman effulgence, which we will not really get into because that's more for the it's more for the impersonalists, and it doesn't mean it means that you don't really have that reciprocal relationship or devotional service with the Lord. So we will not really think of that as it is a form of realization, but not something that we are interested in. So the first one is Salokya, and what Salokya means is that after material liberation, one is promoted to the planet where the Supreme Personality of Godhead resides. So it's Goloka Vrindavan, and so that's one form of material liberation. Another form of liberation or it would be Samipya, and in this you remain an associate of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So which means that you could come back to you may not have you may come back to earth, but then you continue to remain the supreme an associate of the Lord. And then we have Sarupya, and Sarupya means that you attain a four-handed form, which is a form which is Lord Narayan of the Lord. And Sarshti means that you attain all the opulences like those of the Supreme Lord. So Amrisha Maharaj had all these qualities, and he was the most exalted devotee, and that's where we begin this particular chapter, which is chapter 5, which is Durvāsā Muni's life is spared. So what I'm going to do is the way we will look at this is I'll give a very quick synopsis of what the chapter is all about, and then we will understand what happens, and then we look at the qualities that emerges of Ambarisa Maharaj and also of Durvāsā Muni. And we'll go into a little bit of detail on some of the purports that that Prabhupada has given. There are not too many purports and there are not too many verses. It's 28, but it's really worth reflecting on some of those. And what we'll also try to do today is to understand what is the Sudarshan Chakra. And as you know, when you look at Narayan, which is a four-handed form, so form he has got the counter or one side, the shank and the chakra. So we will see what's the significance of the Sudarshan Chakra, and also look at what is this entire pastime tell us in our and how it tells us what are the practical learnings that we can really take from this pastime. So as I mentioned, there are 28 verses. So in the first verse, Durvāsā falls at the feet of Ambarisa Maharaj because he's really tired. He's been doing a lot of running across the world and for more than a year, and he's got and the Sudarshan Chakra is really after him, and it's really burning him. So he can't he's reached the end of his his tolerance. And then 2 and 3 is Ambarisa's Maharaj's reaction, and it's good to really look at the reaction because it shows how humble and how gentle Ambarisa Maharaj is. In fact, he's more shy, although we can clearly say here that Durvāsā Muni could have overreacted in a situation like this, but But Maharaj still is very, very shy, and he cannot think of why he's quite impressed that an exalted a Brahmana is falling at his feet. Then verses 4 to 8 is 8 to 11 is prayers to Amritsar Maharaj's prayer to Lord Sudarshana, and we'll read through some of them. Very nice descriptions. So the first few verses till 8 is glorifying Lord Sudarshan, and we get to experience some of the qualities which we'll come to in a bit. And then 9 to 11 are prayers to Lord Sudarshana, where he's requesting him to spare the poor Brahmana. And as we see this, let's also try to look at how what Amrisa Maharaj really says here, because everything that he says also is something that we can learn a lot from. And then in in verse 12, Sudarshan Chakra becomes peaceful. So all this while, for more than a year, since this episode has started off, the anger of Sudarshan Chakra is burning Durvāsā Muni, and the chakra only becomes peaceful in verse 12, and then stopped like burning Durvāsā Muni. And then in verse 13, we see that Durvāsā Muni is very satisfied, and then he starts praising the qualities of Amrisa Maharaj. And then in verses 14 to 17, and then in 18, Amrisa Maharaj, welcomes again, and feeds Durvāsā Muni with all the with all the prasadam, all the sumptuous feast, that he had originally planned to give the Durvāsā Muni. And then in 19, Durvāsā Muni says, "Please take your meal." So it's always respect, and we do this in our households as well. So we don't. So whenever we have guests in our home, like Atiti, it's always is the Atiti who's served first, and it's only when the Atiti is fully satisfied that's when the hosts like partake, and we do this all the time, even if there there's not much even if there is a scarcity, or even if the food becomes less. That's something that we will not let the Atiti feel, because we would like them to be completely satisfied, which is what Ambrisa Maharaj did. So, and then Durvāsā Muni, then he's fully satisfied, and then he says, please take your meal on in verse 19. And then verse 20 and 21, Durvāsā Muni again praises Amrisha Maharaj. And then in 22, he takes his leave, and he departs to Brahmaloka. And Prabhupada says here that because there's a question about why Durvāsā Muni has chosen to go to Brahmaloka. And one of the things that Prabhupada says is that he goes to Brahmalok because he wants to share what he has seen, what he has experienced, and how it has been a very transformative experience for him, and also the realization that Amrisa Maharaj, although he's a Kshatriya, a Kshatriya is a certain caste, and Durvāsā Muni is a learned Brahmin, and although he's a Kshatriya, he's a pure devotee, and if he offend a pure Vaishnava, then the Lord will not spare you at all. You could even do offenses against the Lord, but it's even he may still show you some mercy, but he'll absolutely not show mercy when it's against his pure devotee. And then in verse 23, it goes on to say that during this 1 year that Durvāsā Muni was being chased by the Sudarshan Chakra, Amrish Maharaj was just drinking water because he's still waiting, because it was the right thing to serve Durvāsā Muni first before he eats. So he was just drinking water. And then in verse 24, Amrisa realizes that he's also powerful, because when he reflects on this entire experience of the Sudarshan Chakra coming to his help, he realizes that he's also very, very powerful, but he does not really take any credit for it. And that's again a sign of his humbleness, his shyness, to say that all my talents, I'm not going to be proud of it. All the opulences that I have is not something that I need to be proud of. It's really something that, I have, that I thank Krishna for. So, and not something that we do all the time, because if we have some talents, we become we could tend to become arrogant. But Ambaresh Maharaj, who has every reason to be arrogant and proud, is not. And then after this particular episode, what Amrisa Maharaj says is that time has come for me to take Vannapras. So in 25 and 26, what he does is, he splits up his kingdom in, like, among his sons, and he distributes them, and then so that he can fully engage himself in the services of the Lord. And because his material duties are already over, and now it's only time for him to do spiritual duties. And then verse 27, 28 is more about the benefits of those who chant the holy name. So this is a beautiful chapter which speaks about the redemption of Durvāsā Muni. And also what we'll do is we will now go through some of the verses and some of the purports. I will pause here and invite any questions or any reflections on what you have just heard. We will have some time for Q&A at the end as well, but if you have anything now, we can just take it. Okay, if not, I will continue, and I'll just I'll start sharing some elements so that.
We've got Sadhu Mataji, Prabhuji. She
Oh yes,
wishes to join.
okay. So Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna, thank you very much for tonight.
Thank you.
In my understanding, Ambrish Maharaj is a Vaishnava, right?
Yes.
But he's Kshatriya also?
Yes. So he's a Kshatriya. So like Arjuna, Amrish Maharaj is also a Kshatriya. So, and Kshatriya have got some responsibilities of ruling the world in the righteous manner. So, doing it in a very dharmic manner. Yes. So he was a Kshatriya.
Man, but how about the Durvāsā Muni? Is he also Vaishnavas or?
So Durvāsā Muni in this, so he's definitely a learned Brahmana. So he's very exalted in his understanding of the scriptures. And there is a description in these chapters that he's a mystic yogi. So he's got a lot of powers. And as we say, if you're not if you don't have a desire to please the Lord, those powers can actually can corrupt you. So he's become very arrogant and very angry. So he's a learned Brahmana, but he is based on his actions in this particular pastime. We can't call him a Vaishnava because he does not demonstrate the qualities of a Vaishnava, which is being humble, which is being gentle. So he doesn't do that. So he's a Brahmana, and he should actually have been a Vaishnava. But if you look at this particular episode, he has not behaved like one.
What I have understood of what I try to read. You see, this is my book.
Lovely.
I try to understand it, so that's why I read many, many times. What I have understood is Durvāsā Muni is incarnation of Lord Shiva, right?
Mm-hmm.
And in the same situation, if we have Durvāsā Muni here, so we have Amrish Maharaj, who in the young years, he goes and begs for food or offering from Lord Shiva, gets from Lord Shiva, right? Is there any connection between this incident and Durvāsā Muni? Because afterwards, even after this incident, Durvāsā, Amrish Maharaj again fast in 1 year and waiting for Durvāsā to come back. So, I mean, is there any connection here? Please help me understand it. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. It's very it's a very good question. And yes, there is definitely in the early years, although it's not really captured in this particular in a pastime, and it's very inspiring to know, Sadhvi Mataji, that you read so much. So definitely you're trying to like relate to, two things. So yes, there is some correlation, and in the end, it's always good to remind ourselves how do these pastimes really happen. These pastimes happen because the Lord himself wants these pastimes to happen. And in this case, Amrisa Maharaj is a great devotee. So here what you one of the all he said is right. So there is a very strong attraction of Lord Shiva. So he comes, he supports Amrisa Maharaj right at the start. Here the inference that you can have is that even someone as exalted as Durvāsā Muni, when they are in the material nature, because this is the material universe that has been created, they also can fall from their exalted position. So because of the modes of material nature. So and if you don't engage all your senses and all your actions to Lord Krishna, I mean to Krishna, then there is always a chance that you can fall. So Durvāsā Muni, although he's a very exalted Brahmana, but in this instance, he fell because he was being influenced by the modes of material nature, and that because of the downfall, this entire pastime has been created. So there are two things to learn from this. One is in the material universe, we are all, the Maya is very, very strong, and we have to be very, very careful about their influences. The second one is if we do not engage our our senses always on Krishna, we can always be deluded. So even if we are a devotee, we can always fall back from the devotee. So the ideal Vaishnava is what we see Emperor Ambrisa, because he demonstrates all the qualities right from the start, as I described, humble, gentle, to the time that he even waits for that 1 year, as you described. So it's a very beautiful pastime. Again, it's only the Lord which has sanctioned all of this, but it's good to understand that if you don't really put your faith fully on Krishna, you can always fall from grace. There's always a risk that you can do so.
May I have a follow-up question?
Of course.
Thank you. Do I understand right, when they are incarnate, when they are as avatar or incarnation, is their consciousness also covers, or do they know really what they are here for, or that they are incarnation? Do they know that, or their consciousness is covered? Please, thank you.
We are talking of Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is the most transcendental devotee. In fact, he's the most exalted devotee of the Lord, and the purest of pure Vaishnava. So all of them would be fully conscious. So their consciousness, will be there. However, when they come on in the incarnations, they go through some of the pastimes, and one example, because you were mentioning Lord Shiva, is also Ravan. So Ravan, although he was a very pure devotee of Lord Shiva, but he that is a certain leela that is being played here, and that's how he's that's how the the entire Ramayana happens, where he takes away Sita. However, and that's because however powerful he was, he still got deluded by the material modes of material nature. So similarly, so as incarnations, Lord Shiva, they would be definitely very conscious. and they enact certain pastimes to please the Lord. So that's how, and that's where we can learn a lot from these pastimes, because we don't look at these stories only at a literal level, but we also look at it from at a ethical level, and in fact practically what it means for us and what it means for us in our spiritual journeys.
Thank you very much. I have
Thank
more
you.
questions, but I wait for others. Thank you.
And we'll have some questions at the end as well. So let's continue with the discussion on chapter 5. I'm going to read out a few important, let me just pull some of that up. Okay. So I wanted to touch upon the some of what Amrisa Maharaj says about. Okay, let me start sharing my screen. So hopefully you're able to see that. So let's look at so let's see verses 3 onwards and just get a sense of who is Sudarshan Chakra. So Maharaja Ambarisa said, "O Sudarshan Chakra, you are fire, you're the most powerful sun, and you're the moon, the master of all luminaries. You're water, earth, sky. You're the air, you're the five sense objects, sound, touch, form, taste, and smell. And you're the senses also." So here what we get is we get us we get this thing about we start appreciating the qualities of the Sudarshan Chakra. And in a little minute I'm just going to ask you a question on the chakra as well. And then, most favorite of Achyuta. Achyuta is another name for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You have thousands of spokes. So Sudarshan Chakra is like it's like a discus. So there are lots of spokes. So, O Master of the material world, destroyer of all weapons, original vision of the Personality of Godhead, and we will touch a little bit upon this now. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Kindly give shelter and be auspicious to this Brahmana. So, the original vision of the Personality of Godhead is something that it'll be good to unpack a little bit. What do you understand by the original vision? And you can also call it a glance of the Personality of Godhead. What does that suggest to you? What can it be?
Eyes?
Yes, definitely eyes. And what is it? What does that eyes do? What does that glance do?
Look at behavior, see everything, see
See
through
everything.
everything.
See everything. And because
See
it's a
through.
transcendental glance, this is the glance by which the Lord has created this material world. So the Sudarshan Chakra is described as the glance. So the Lord is in this deep meditation, and his eyes are half closed. And if you recall, he's in the ocean of milk, and then he's in slumber for millions and millions of years, and he's getting his potency, and he's starting to like build everything that's needed to be built for the material universe. And then he opens his eyes, and when he opens his eyes and glances at the material universe, that's how the entire material universe gets created. How many of us know of the Big Bang Theory, of how the universe has really come about? So we know about the Big Bang Theory as this very, very small dot in at some point, like at the start of the universe, which is so dense, and then something happens and it explodes, and then that the matter starts, the matter and the energy. I mean, the force of the energy is so strong that it just explodes, and then matter is scattered across the universe, what's currently the universe. And the power of that blast is so much that even today we know that the universe is expanding, because the galaxies are all going away, so the universe is expanding. So the glance. So science has not been able to really prove uh, what caused the Big Bang. So we know from the scripture now that the force which caused the Big Bang is essentially the glance of the personality of Godhead, or the Sudarshan Chakra. So that's really that's how we can understand the Sudarshan Chakra. And we hear a few other descriptors that the Sudarshan Chakra is most dear to the Lord. He has thousands and thousands of spokes. He kills the power of other weapons. So he's the most powerful weapon in the world. So there is no weapon in the material universe which can withstand the power of the Sudarshan Chakra. And what he also does is kills darkness and all the irreligious activities. So one is, you can look at darkness as a literal darkness. So because he is the light of the sun, and we know in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says that he's the light of the sun and the light of the moon. And he kills darkness. He also kills the ignorance, which is equivalent to the darkness. So in our mind, in our mind, if we have anger, if we are lazy, if we are greedy, if we are arrogant, if we are envious, all these are symptoms of darkness. So by giving us the knowledge, or the torch of knowledge, what the Sudarshan Chakra does is to dispel all these irreligious activities within our heart. So that's what Amrisa Maharaj describes here. So let's really move down, and then so O Sudarshana wheel, your religion, your truth, your encouraging statements, your sacrifice, you're the enjoyer of the fruits of sacrifice. You're the maintainer of the entire universe, and you're the original supreme transcendental prowess in the hands of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. You're the original vision of the Lord, and therefore you're known as Sudarshana. Everything has been created by your activities, and therefore you're all pervading. So this describes more. And we do see here that Sudarshana means auspicious vision. So it's the first glance, it's the divine glance that helps create the universe. So what Prabhupada says here is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, he glanced over the Mahatattva. So the Mahatattva is the is what is that the ball which from which the Big Bang theory originally comes. So the total material energy that you see in this particular world is called the Mahatattva. And let's continue. So then Amrita Maharaj also says that you have a very auspicious hub, because it's like a disc. So it's got an auspicious hub, which is the center, and through this you're the upholder of all religion. And so there are other descriptors like inauspicious comet for the religious demons, and maintainer of the three worlds. So if you see that in the previous one, the theme is about auspicious vision. And in this, you can see Sudarshan Chakra as being a protector of Dharma. So, there is another role of the Sudarshan Chakra here. And also says you're as quick as the mind, and you're able to work wonders. I can simply utter the word Namaha and offering all my obeisance unto you. And there are some descriptors here. So in fact, this also will link up to Sadhvi Mataji's question. So the Sudarshan Chakra does not okay, so I think this is a good one because it directly answers your question, Mataji. So Maharaj Ambrisa was a truly religious person, and For his protection, the Sudarshan Chakra was ready to punish even such a strict Brahmana as Durvāsā Muni, because in this situation he had acted as a demon. And this is a very strong statement that Prabhupada says there are demons even in the form of Brahmanas. So just because you're a Brahmana doesn't mean that you cannot be a demon. And here, anyone against the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his devotees is called a demon. And although the Durvāsā Muni was very, very exalted, but in this particular situation, he acted as a demon, and therefore he also got the Sudarshan Chakra, coming after him, because the Lord was very angry that he had offended Amrisa Maharaj, who is a pure Vaishnava. And for those who are devotees, the Sudarshan Chakra is the protector of dharma, the provider of light and the dispelling of the darkness. But for the demons, the Sudarshan Chakra is just an inauspicious comet, because you can see how Durvāsā Muni was running for more than a year. Because he was being chased by the Sudarshan Chakra. So for the devotees, the Sudarshan Chakra is absolutely like a transcendental, and you pay your obeisances by saying Namaha. And for the demons, it can be a very inauspicious comet. Then Amrisha Maharaj also says that, "O Master of Speech," and this is where we understand the role of the Sudarshan Chakra as the illuminator. So by your effulgence, by your brightness, full of religious principles, the darkness of the world is completely dissipated, and the knowledge of learned souls, persons or great souls, is manifested. No one can surpass your effulgence, for all things are but various forms of you that are manifested by your effulgence. So here we actually see Amrisa Maharaj speak about the illuminating power, the transcendental illuminating power of the Sudarshan Chakra. So and then there are also a few others that we will go through. Let's come here. So, Samvesa Maharaj says, "For the benefit of our entire dynasty, kindly favor this poor Brahmana. This will certainly be a favor for all of us." Now, what Amrisa Maharaj is saying is that, why does he say for the benefit of our entire dynasty, kindly favor this poor Brahmana? Because we do, if there is any offense, I mean, even if this poor Brahmana has offended, if a Brahmana is hurt, then Amrisa Maharaj feels that his dynasty can have some negative consequences, because Durvāsā Muni himself is a very exalted devotee, and that's why he makes this prayer to Sudarshan Chakra. And now this one is quite interesting. Now chapter text 10. What Amrisa Maharaj says is that if our family has given charity to the proper persons, if we have performed ritualistic ceremonies and sacrifices, if we have properly carried out our occupational duties, and if we have been guided by learned Brahmanas, I wish in exchange that this Brahmana be freed from the burning caused by the Sudarshan Chakra. How humble that is. Here is a Brahmana who's brought a demon, and was like planning to kill Amrisha Maharaj. But think of Amrisha Maharaj's quality here. He says that, "I'm willing to give away all the benedictions, all the boons, all the blessings that I may have got out of charity, out of the ceremonies, but please save the poor Brahmana." So that really shows how much compassion he's got for Durvāsā Muni, to the extent that he is willing to sacrifice all the benedictions, all the blessings that he has received through his various pious acts so far. That speaks a lot about Amrisa Maharaj, isn't it? And so in text 12 is when the Sudarshan Chakra becomes peaceful and stopped burning. And then you can see that this entire episode took almost a year. And then Durvāsā Muni becomes very satisfied, and then he praised the qualities of Amrisa Maharaj, and we have seen some of them. So, what Durvāsā Muni says is that I have experienced the greatness of devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, there is a very so while the Sudarshan Chakra was burning him, it was burning him literally because it's a very powerful weapon, but it was also burning the ignorance in Durvāsā Muni. So there is that aspect of transformation that is happening of the inner mind as well, and this is where Durvāsā Muni says, "Today I have experienced the greatness of devotees of the Supreme Personality of Godhead," because he recognizes that he has committed an offense, but in spite of doing that, Amrisa Maharaj has prayed for his good fortune. And let's ask ourselves, how often do we forgive our enemies? If there is someone who has not done things right for us, we would have, we would have anger, we would have like frustration, we would have anxiety, but we would never be in a way, like what Amrisa Maharaj says, which is about completely forgiving. So this is a perfect example of how forgiveness is one of the qualities of the Vaishnava, and Maharaj Amrish demonstrates that so effectively. And for those who have achieved the Supreme Personality of Godhead, what Durvāsā Muni also says, what is impossible to do and what is impossible to give up? There is nothing which is impossible. As long as you engage your mind and your senses for the Lord, you don't have to worry about anything. Just surrender to me, and I will deliver you of all sins. And that's what Krishna says in the Gita. But what we do is in our day-to-day life, while we try to remember him from time to time, but we don't remember him all the time. So the aspiration for us as devotees is how can we really continuously keep remembering him, even in during our waking time, during our sleeping time, and try to, if we think of him like say 10 minutes per day, try to think of him half an hour per day, and slowly start increasing that amount by which you think of Krishna. And by the very hearing of his holy name, one is purified. The moment you say Krishna, the moment you hear the word, the name Krishna, you know that Krishna is there. So he's present now. He's listening to us. He's with us. And can we feel his presence? And what the Durvāsā Muni says continues, "O king, overlooking my offenses, you have saved my life. Therefore, I'm very much obliged to you because you're so merciful." And then, the king had not taken his food. So when the sage returned, the king fell at his lotus feet, pleasing him, and fed him sumptuously. Thus, the king respectfully received Durvāsā Muni, and who was very satisfied after eating varieties of palatable food. And then he says, and that's the right thing to do, because you always serve the Brahmana and then you eat yourself, and you get permission from from Durvāsā Muni. Otherwise, the Amrisa Maharaj would not eat. So Durvāsā Muni is also compassionate, and he also tells the king, please, you also take your meal. And then this is towards the end of his visit. Durvāsā Muni says, I'm very pleased with you. At first, I thought of you as an ordinary human being and accepted your hospitality, but I could understand. And that understanding really comes from the Sudarshan Chakra, because it was the light that dispelled the darkness which was in Durvāsā Muni's heart and mind. And as we go here, Durvāsā Muni also praises and tells that all the blessed women in the heavenly planets will continuously chant about his spotless character, which is why even after so many years, so many lifetimes, we are still hearing and talking about Amrisa Maharaj and his and this pastime. So we continue to be inspired by him. And then Sukadev Goswami continued in his as was speaking to Parikshit Maharaj, and then he says that the great mystic yogi took permission and left. So that's how this episode ends. And he went to Brahmaloka, which is devoid of agnostic and dry philosophical speculators. So he went to Brahmaloka because he wanted to really speak about this particular pastime and say This is what happens when you show anger towards an exalted devotee of the Lord, and how Ambarisha Maharaj is not an ordinary devotee. He is an extraordinary devotee, or a Vaishnav. So after Durvāsā Muni had left the palace, um, and we heard that Amrisa Maharaj fed him all the pure food, prasadam, and then he also ate. And then this also speaks about one of the qualities of Amrisa Maharaj, where he said that he could understand that by the grace of the Lord, he himself was also powerful, but he does not take any credit, because nothing in this world happens without the Lord. So, because everything is really being done by the Lord. And as we do this, one of the things that I did want to also highlight here was this material. This is quite an important one for us. This material world is full of dangers that one has to meet, and we briefly spoke about how the modes of material nature is in play. There are lots of miseries going on, but the devotee, because they have fully surrendered to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is never disturbed, because he knows that whatever happens, the Lord is going to take care of it. So even if there is suffering that comes their way, that suffering is a manifestation of their own karmic reactions, and an opportunity to learn and come closer to Krishna. So I was speaking to a devotee about Janaki Das Prabhu, who is also called the Smiling Monk. So he was a monk who lived in the ashram in the manor for many, many years. I'm sure many of you have heard about him. So very, very vibrant. I met him. Each time you meet him, you will be completely inspired. So then he, then it was discovered that he got cancer, and then he went through a process which was very, very painful. He went through lots of chemotherapy, and but he converted that particular suffering into he transcended that suffering, and although he was in a lot of pain, he never stopped his preaching, his preaching duties, and he was constantly inspiring everyone to take to the path of Krishna consciousness. So today his legacy stands on in like through the foundation, through the hearts of through the souls that he has touched, and just being a shining example. So again, a great example of a devotee who put his full dependence on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And he was not worried about the pain. He was not worried about the physical pain. All he wanted to do was to serve Krishna. And Prabhupada is another how many of us feel inspired by Prabhupada? He at the age of 69, when one normally retires from life and tries not to do very drastic things. He took a voyage to the US, and then thanks to him, we are so grateful that we are all here, because and we are having this class because of his mercy. And then as we look at text 25, so in this way, and this is what Sukadev Goswami says, because of devotional service, Maharaj Ambrisa, who was endowed with all varieties of transcendental qualities, as we have seen today, was completely aware of Brahman, Paramatman, and Supreme Personality of Godhead. So he had all the three levels of realization, and as we move towards the last few verses, because of his advanced position in life, because after this he no longer desired to live in material things, so he retired from active family life. So he went into Vanaprasth, and he went to the forest so that he could concentrate his mind fully upon Vasudev. And the last couple of verses are more around the benefits of listening to this narration. So anyone who chants this narration, or even thinks of this narration about the activities of Maharaj Amrish, certainly becomes a pure devotee of the Lord, because we get the Lord's mercy. And there's a good example that's shared here. So when one is very eager for more and more money, he's not satisfied even when he's a millionaire or a multimillionaire because he wants to earn more. And the same mentality is present in a devotee. The difference is the devotee is never satisfied because he says that there is no limit to my devotional service. I can continue to keep serving the Lord again and again, more and more, better and better. So that is really the position of the devotee, and that's what we can really learn from this particular chapter. And the last verse says that by the grace of the Lord, those who hear about the activities of Maharaj Ambarish, the great devotee, certainly becomes liberated or become devotees without delay.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu, for an excellent class. If anyone has any questions, please do raise your hand. If I can just start off, if that's okay. The last sort of verse you sort of said anyone that chants or thinks of this chapter becomes a pure devotee. So my question is that can a pure Vaishnava fall, or are they immune to the three modes of material nature?
That's a very good question. I may not be sure of any specific examples of that. Yes, you could, as a pure devotee, you could fall, but that will be a very temporary one, and the Lord will always be there to protect you because under the modes of material nature, you could be deluded. And one example of that could be Bharat Maharaj. So he's the most exalted devotee of the Lord, and because he was so his care for the dawn, I mean, for the deer was so high that he came back to the world, like as a deer. Only because there was this karmic reaction for him to get completed. Although very interestingly, as Sadhvi Mataji mentioned, he came, but he came with all the consciousness of his previous one. So he knew that even as he's a deer, he's going to continue to serve the Lord, and so then he got liberated. So you can have those occasional ones because at the end of the day, Maya, or the three modes of material nature, is the Lord's inferior energy, and that's what like makes this world go around. So we are not the doers. As we know, we are only the soul, but we are not the doers. The doer is we think we are the doers, but we are not. So the Lord has to sanction, and the execution of that sanctioning of the desire, or the desire in your heart, is done through the modes of material nature or Prakriti. So because of that interplay, it's quite possible that sometimes when you fall from grace, you do that, but it's for a limited period of time. So the intensity with which you fall is less because the Lord is always there. So that's why you could say that being a pure devotee is almost like a safety net, which will never, because the Lord will never, never let you fail.
Okay, thank you very much, Prabhu. Bhatti Mataji, would you like to ask your question? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Madan Prabhuji. Thank you very much for today's class. Excellent as
Hare
always.
Krishna.
You make things so relatable. Prabhuji, you explained so much about Sudarshan Chakra. On the surface value, I always read this chapter as a weapon, Lord's weapon, like a guided missile that goes after the target and doesn't return until it's executed the job. So the purpose and the role of Sudarshan Chakra was really was enlightening for me. Prabhuji, do the Lord's weapons come as kind of human expansions as well with him? And I can vaguely recall that Sudarshan Chakra during the Ramayana incarnated is I think Bharata and Lakshmana was Shesha. Is that possible that they come as personal expansions of the Lord?
Yes, yes, Mataji. So whenever the Lord comes, he always comes with with this entourage. So yes, definitely the answer is yes. And
Thank
we
you.
also know that in Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's also like all the deities, all the everyone they come. So the Lord doesn't come alone. He always comes with his with the we wouldn't call it the weapon because Sudarshan Chakras, I mean, as we saw today in the class today, in the chapter today, Sudarshan Chakra is a lot more than just a weapon because it's the glance that it's the Lord's glance that
Yes.
created the original that created this material world. So it's a lot more than that. And it's a lot more, and it's the protector of dharma, and that's again not something that we normally hear, but we know that from we actually know that from this particular chapter. Thirdly, we also see the Sudarshan Chakra as being the illuminator or the displayer of ignorance. None of this was very apparent because you always think of Sudarshan Chakra as just the
It's
chakra
a
that
weapon.
goes,
Yes.
cuts off, the demon's heads and then
Yes.
comes back to the Lord. So
Yeah, yeah, that is exactly, and your explanation today was really helpful because it showed the purpose and the role of the chakra.
yeah,
So thank you very much. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare
thank you,
Krishna.
Mataji, for the question.
Okay, thank you. Sadhu Mataji, did you say you had one extra question at all?
Yes, thank you. This is something I have very long time. I have thought about it. In this situation, we see that Amrish Maharaj want to take care of his guest, Durvāsā Muni. And I have also learned this, to take care of guests, to give your food to everyone else before you eat it, and so on. Is it possible to do it in other countries too? I mean, in India, it's everyone knows this. Everyone knows this custom, that you even go outside and scream, "Is everybody hungry?" It's normal. It's okay. You can do it. But if I do it in Sweden, they will think I'm crazy. It's impossible. I can't even go to my neighbor to ask. Even neighbor who's beside me, live beside me. So how can I do? Is it possible to practice that in other country?
You can definitely practice in other countries, and I'll take the example of the time when I was in Malaysia. So I was in I was not married then, and I was alone, and Malaysia is not a country where one would expect someone to like very freely give prasadam. So there's a colleague of mine, and he would go to he would go home every day to have his meals because it's prasadam and vegetarian because you don't really get much of that in Malaysia. So and I used to like go with him every day, and his home is one very good example of a home where food would prasadam would never you'd never be short of prasadam because there would be lots of guests who will keep coming. Who'll keep coming, and then there is always food. So there is and there are very few places that I've really seen as homes, which offer that kind. So you can definitely do it. And of course, if you do it like immediately, and then your neighbors may wonder, what's happening. But you can really do it. You could be that change maker. You can really start off the practice and invite your friends to your home, and also in you mentioned something about India. So in India, people know about it. People know that. Okay, firstly, okay, let me take that statement back. Um, what has we have lost a lot of knowledge, a lot of Vedic wisdom over the years. So even in India, I have been brought up with. I've not had any at least our schools don't teach us any spiritual education at all. So how do we really get to know this? We don't read the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. We don't read the Bhagavad Gita, in school. It's only thanks to me. I used to attend classes. That's how I got to, like outside school that I got to know. But many of us, we don't even read that. So, no, very few people in India actually really even know some of this, and it has diluted a lot over the years. Um, so I would say that irrespective of whichever country you are, um, follow the scriptures, follow what Krishna is telling you, follow what the Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam is telling you, And it may raise some glances at the start saying, what is Sadhvi Mataji doing? But then they will understand, the true intent. And then when we start talking to them, when we start explaining to them Atiti, the role of the Atiti and how we serve them, then that could be a change of the heart. There is another place I remember, Thailand, which is very, very, which also believes in this, because Thailand also, I think it's a Hindu kingdom or a Buddhist kingdom, but they also follow very much the importance of the guests, of the guests, and how we need to serve them before we serve ourselves.
Thank you. I have 6 children, so I do something for them as a prasada. But I mean, to go to my neighbor, I don't know if I can do it yet.
You can say maybe I'm coming to your place, please. I'm coming to have prasadam. And it's interesting you say about Sweden, because I've worked in Sweden for some years, and my friends tell me that Sweden is one of the most godless societies.
It was, but now it's changing. Yes, it's changing.
That's good to know.
It was that.
In India, probably, there is a reversal going on where started off as being the land of the Bhagavad Gita, but that's changing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for your questions.